Good evening. Today is Monday, September 10th, 2018, and welcome to the Cabarrus County Board of Education business meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before we start the opening ceremony, I want to welcome Dr. Kirk, one of our board members who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Harris Road Middle School 8th grade women's choir will sing for us this evening. So please rise. Are they coming?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meredith, Alex, Abby, Brooke, Mira, Rachel, Alana, Sydney, Zoe, Ruth, Haley, Alexis, Morgan, this is Morgan, Audrey, Brennan, Janie, Jenna, Olivia, Alex, Celia, Gianna, Shibley, Shayla, Megan, Nilla, Madison,
Sam Taylor. One more row. Lauren, Alyssa, Anushka, Akshaya, Reese, Rashika, Piper. No, LaDeja. No. Nisha, there we go. Addie, Emma, Sydney, Brianna, and Morgan.
And the choir director is Mrs. Rachel Giuliano. Thank you. All the names are in the agenda. We didn't mean to put you on a test there so early in the school year. Okay, I'd like to thank School Resource Officer Thousands from Mount Pleasant Middle School for attending to be security tonight. Board members, it's time to set the agenda. I'll take a motion that the September 10th, 2018 business meeting agenda be approved as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Kirk made the motion. Mr. Shoemaker made the second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes 7-0. We'll now go on to recognitions. Dr. Louder and Mrs. Jones will present the Hilbish Ford Teacher of the Month.
Good evening, Ms. Chairman and board members. We're excited tonight to kick off the 9th year of this wonderful program that honors and celebrates our outstanding teachers. Mr. Vaughn could not be with us tonight, but we do want to thank him and Hilbish Ford for creating this program and for their continued support and generosity. Now it is my pleasure to present our very first Hilbish Ford Teacher of the Month for the 2018-19 school year, and that's Ms. Pamela Hayes. Mrs. Hayes, would you, your family, and any members of your school's administrative team who are here tonight please come forward? Just on the line by Dr. Louder.
Okay.
Pamela Hayes teaches math at Cox Mill High School. She was nominated for this award by a parent who wrote, "Mrs. Hayes has taught my son for 2 of his 4 years at Cox Mill. Math did not always come easy to him, but Mrs. Hayes was always a positive presence for him and would help him outside of class when he needed it. She is a teacher that he felt was on his side and truly wanted him to succeed. For the first time in his life, he became more confident as a math student and chose to take honors level classes due to his newfound confidence. She was also very willing to sit and talk to me as a parent, and I appreciated her openness and her availability. I think all teachers deserve the positive recognition, but Mrs. Hayes was and is an outstanding teacher and is very deserving of this recognition. Mrs. Hayes, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Month, and thank you for believing in your students and bolstering their confidence. Please allow Dr. Louder to present you with your award, and then allow our board members to congratulate you. And if we could get a photo.
Next, we will have the Impact Through Education Awards, and Mrs. Ronnie Boone will present those.
Good evening. Tonight, we are excited to kick off the 2018-2019 Impact Through Education Awards by welcoming a new sponsor for this program, AXA Advisors. I was hoping to be joined at the podium by Mr. Ben Sloan from AXA Advisors, but I don't think he was able to make it tonight, so hopefully he'll be able to join us another evening. We do want to say that we are grateful to AXA Advisors for their generosity and their support of this recognition program, and we are thrilled that they will be able to help us honor and celebrate our outstanding students and staff with this award each month. Tonight, we're also joined by students from J.M. Robinson High School's broadcasting class and their teacher, Mrs. Tina Platek. The students will be creating a special video feature for Capco Schools TV 21 about our Impact honorees, so be on the lookout for that coming to TV 21 in the coming weeks. Our first schools to present Impact Awards this year are Wolf Meadow Elementary School and Northwest Cabarrus Middle School. So without any further ado, we will, Northwest Cabarrus High School, I'm sorry. Without any further ado, we will begin with Wolf Meadow Elementary, and I'd like to invite any members of the Wolf Meadow administrative team to come forward at this time. Can I get y'all to stand on that tape right there? Our first honoree from Wolf Meadow Elementary is Jermaine Franklin. Would Jermaine and his family please come forward? Jermaine is a fifth grader at Wolf Meadow Elementary School. He is the most wonderful role model in so many ways. He works hard, perseveres when things aren't easy, and always wants to do better. This is his attitude every single day. His eagerness and commitment to learning and growing have never wavered. His teacher says, "I always love to see how proud he is of himself when he does well, and when he struggles, he's always positive about it." Jermaine's positivity is really contagious, and it impacts the classroom environment in a tremendous way. So much so that you can actually feel the difference in the mood in the class when he's not there. Jermaine also has great character. He gets along with everyone and always does the right thing. He isn't influenced by what others are doing. Instead, he sets the example for his peers, and others truly look up to him. Jermaine makes a huge impact in the classroom and is so deserving of this special award. Congratulations, Jermaine. So this is his teacher. Congratulations. Our next honoree for Wolf Meadow Elementary School is Dulce Bonilla Torres. Would Dulce and her family please come forward? Dulce is also a fifth grader at Wolf Meadow Elementary School. Her teachers happily respond that she is special because of her amazing work ethic combined with her sweet and chipper personality. She comes into class every day with a big smile and is always giggling and being joyful about something. Her previous teachers say she still sneaks her head into their classroom just to wave and smile. Her spunky personality and strong work ethic make the most impact in the class. She is an exceptional role model to other students because she's always willing to help anyone who is in need. She's never unkind, always willing to be an assistant to staff or students, and she's the kind of student that is going to make a difference in the lives of others, no matter where her path leads. Wolf Meadow Elementary School is proud to present Dulce with this Impact Through Education Award. Congratulations. Congratulations. Our next Impact Through Education Award honoree for Wolf Meadow Elementary is Kira Delgadillo. Would Ms. Delgadillo please come forward with her family? Kira has been devoted to Wolf Meadow from the very beginning of her career as a teacher. She has served as interventionist, a student teacher, in multiple interim positions, and is currently a first grade teacher. Working with Wolf Meadow students and their families is truly her passion. As a second-year teacher, she exemplifies the growth mindset. She is caring and sensitive, but holds her students accountable for their actions and teaches them how to meet her high expectations. Not only does she lead in the classroom, but as a faculty member as well. She is always thinking about ways to grow as a professional. This year, as grade level chairperson, she has created an academic workshop for parents using our Wolf Meadow Rocks theme called Go Backstage in the First Grade. Kira and the first grade team have invited families to come on campus prior to the first intercession to offer to teach them strategies and academic tools that parents and guardians can use with their students over the break. As for Kira herself, during our upcoming intercession, she is leading a camp called Meadow's Beautification Project. This project will focus on empowering students and advocating for kindness through designing murals and painting inspirational quotes in the school restrooms and conference room. Kira is an amazing teacher and only in her second year. Wolf Meadow is proud to have her represent the staff as an Impact Through Education Award winner. Congratulations. And our final Wolf Meadow honoree this evening is Ms. Jenny Weems. Would Ms. Weems and her family please come forward? Jenny Weems has been the treasurer at Wolf Meadow Elementary for less than 2 years, but she has been such a consistent source of joy and service that her colleagues can't really remember a time when her smile and constant response of "my pleasure" wasn't a part of the Wolf Pack. As a longtime resident of Cabarrus County, Ms. Weems has volunteered at many Cabarrus County schools, but Wolf Meadow was the lucky recipient of her decision to join the workforce full-time. As school treasurer, she supports the financial processes of the daily school routine with exceptional stewardship, but that particular service is not why she was chosen for this award. The true reason she was chosen is because of the impact she makes through serving the staff and students with kindness and love. Her uplifting spirit and contagious laughter welcome all visitors to her office, and she will go to any length to ensure anyone in the school has what they need. She goes through each day abiding by her own mission statement that goes a little something like this: I am here to serve the faculty and staff of Wolf Meadow so that they can do the complex and dynamic work that they do to support and love the children who come here to learn. Ms. Weems is receiving this award tonight in recognition of her impact on Wolf Meadow, but the staff and students of the school are the real winners. They have the gift of Jenny Weems every day. Congratulations. Now we will move on to honoring our students and staff with Impact Through Education Awards from Northwest Cabarrus High School. I'd like to invite any members of the Northwest Cabarrus High School administrative team to come forward at this time. Our first honoree from Northwest Cabarrus High School is Nicholas Cifelli. Would Nicholas and his family please come forward? Move a little bit closer to Mr. Myers. He won't bite you. One cannot say enough good things about Nicholas Cifelli. Nick is a model example of respect, diligence, and leadership. He is known to greet everyone with a smile and kind word. Throughout the 3+ years as a student at Northwest Cabarrus High School, Nick has grown from a shy young man in the Biotechnology and Health Science Academy who was unsure of his ability to master the curriculum into the confident and well-rounded individual he is today. Those adjectives came from numerous teachers who have had the pleasure of working with Nick, and when asked what he appreciates most about Northwest, Nick immediately said the caring nature of his teachers who have provided a positive push to get him out of his comfort zone and aspire to do more. During his time as a Trojan, Nick has worked diligently with an eye toward his future. Nick loves people and animals, and he hopes to find a career where he can positively impact both. Nick also loves digging in the dirt, which is why his chosen coursework at Northwest Cabarrus is with an emphasis on project-based learning, has consistently kept him engaged and focused on his future goals. According to Academy Coordinator Peter Kim, Nick has been a pleasure to work with over the past 4 years. As the Academy Coordinator at Northwest, I've been able to witness his growth and maturity, and Nick is one of the most respectful students I've ever come across in my career. He reflects the values and desire to succeed that we wish upon all students who come through the Academy of Health Sciences at Northwest Cabarrus High School. Nick Cifelli is a true Trojan success story, and for that, he is an outstanding choice for the Impact Through Education Award. Congratulations, Nick. Our next honoree from Northwest Cabarrus High School is Grace Seaman. Would Grace and her family please come forward? Grace Seaman is an extraordinary young lady. According to Principal Myers, his first recollection of Grace was when she was an 8th grader and he spoke at their commencement. Throughout the evening, Mr. Myers could not help but notice how many times her name was called to accept one award after another, clearly foreshadowing Grace's future as a success as a Trojan. In the 2 years plus that Grace has been a student at Northwest, she has excelled academically while always exuding confidence, positivity, and empathy for her peers. Grace is an extremely talented vocalist, and as a member of the Northwest Cabarrus Chorus, she has participated in the prestigious Mars Hill Choral Festival. Grace uses her musical talent to make an impact on her community as well. Currently, she performs as a vocalist with the School of Rock in Charlotte. She volunteers with the Rock Chorus Camp and uses her passion for fine arts to teach youth ages 8 through 12 music and performance. Her purpose for this is to help students relate and connect emotionally through music, because to Grace, music is a form of self-expression. Ultimately, she aspires to study musical performance at Berklee College of Music in Boston. According to Grace's teachers, she daily impresses them with her maturity, willingness to accept differences, and the natural qualities of a good leader that she demonstrates through her demeanor in class. When asked what she likes most about Northwest Cabarrus, Grace's response was the people. She loves how friendly the students are and how much her teachers care about her success and that of her peers. Grace is the epitome of what every young person should aspire to be, and for that, Northwest Cabarrus High School is proud to recognize Grace for her impact through education. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next honoree from Northwest Cabarrus High School is Mrs. Cortina Jennings. Would Mrs. Jennings and her family please come forward? Mrs. Cortina Jennings has been teaching for more than 25 years and has been a Trojan for the past 4.5 years. At Northwest Cabarrus High School, Mrs. Jennings has served in various leadership positions, coached multiple sports, sponsored various clubs, worked with several homebound students, supported lots of student athletes and organizations, and traveled to many different professional development opportunities over the years. That being said, there is nothing that motivates Mrs. Jennings more to improve upon her craft than the genuine aha moments that can occur regularly in her classes. Those aha moments feed her teaching spirit. Those aha moments move her to dig deeper, push harder, and transfer more math and life skills, and to keep her teaching light burning bright. In the words of one of her students who described Mrs. Jennings perfectly, "I've never been great at math. It's never been my strong suit. But that has been an issue in the past with some teachers, but never for Mrs. Jennings. She didn't care if I was the smartest kid in the class, and that's what sets her apart. With Mrs. Jennings as my teacher, I wasn't afraid to make mistakes because she was always there to help me work through them. With her approachable and loving nature, I wasn't afraid to ask for help because I knew she cared about making me the best student that I could be." The student added, "She understands her students and does her best to help them excel. She always encourages us to do our best and work hard. She connects with and understands us as people rather than just another set of students. You never feel lost with Mrs. Jennings' teaching. She knows her material like the back of her hand and is always on top of things. She teaches and communicates each new piece of information in a way that is understandable to all. Most importantly, she made me feel capable. She made me think differently about math and realize I could do it with the right teacher and support. So from me personally and all your students, I thank you for all that you do. Congratulations, Mrs. Jennings, and thank you for making an impact through education at Northwest Cabarrus High School. And our final honoree this evening from Northwest Cabarrus High School is Ms. Angela Taylor. Would Mrs. Taylor and her family please come forward? Okay. Angela Taylor has been the face of Northwest Cabarrus High School as the front office secretary for the past 12 years. Her Louisiana roots are easily detected by the Southern hospitality that she shows everyone who steps through the doors of Northwest Cabarrus. She demonstrates compassion and kindness towards students by taking time to provide a listening ear or a word of encouragement to help them get through a tough day. Students view her as a role model and mother away from home because of the amount of support she shows them throughout their high school journey. Mrs. Taylor keeps Northwest Cabarrus running as a well-oiled machine. She diligently works to keep the events of the school day organized, responds to the needs of parents, staff, and students, all while maintaining a smile and sense of calm. She has recently taken on the role of varsity cheerleading coach, and she continues to positively impact the lives of young people through her dedication to the Northwest Cabarrus athletic program. The varsity cheerleading captain shared these words about Mrs. Taylor. She is more than a coach. She is a mentor and inspiration to each one of her girls. She makes us a family instead of just a team. She is loved by so many. Mrs. Taylor is more than a cheer coach. She's like a second mother to us. Along with her work in the office, she puts in as much time and effort in the cheer team. She's there for us not only during practice in school, but outside. She's the most caring and loving coach anyone could ask for. She always makes sure we're doing what we're supposed to in the classroom and that we stay on top of our grades. She always tells us, you're a student first and an athlete second. She's greatly appreciated, and we couldn't ask for a better coach. Mrs. Taylor is truly special, and we are beyond grateful to have her as part of the Northwest Cabarrus family. Congratulations on your Impact Through Education Award.
Give people a moment to exit if they choose. Board members, in 5.01, we have the approval of the minutes for August 6th work session and the August 13th business meeting. And Mr. Walter, I believe you had an update?
Madam Chair, there was a error, I guess, on page 2, under Hickory Ridge Elementary School,
On the August 6th?
on the August 6th minutes, it says that I voted for delaying the school for a year, and my actual vote was, Patriots is bursting at the seams, and my feeling was to open the school as soon as we can, so I voted against that motion.
Okay. And Ms. Abbott, you have that update? Okay, thank you. So board members, we have that slight adjustment to the August 6 minutes, and that was consistent with my notes as well, what Rob updated.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Harrison made the motion, and Dr. Kirk made the second. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes 7-0. Next, we have board chair comments. The only thing I wanted to do, and we'll give a report next month when all the totals are complete, but that the school supply drive was very successful. We have low 30s of the schools already delivered, and we have 8 more to go. So looking forward to doing the final tally and getting those numbers. So Dr. Louder, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to officially welcome everyone to the 2018-2019 school year. We are starting week 3. I've visited all of the schools in the past 2 weeks and have seen the excitement and energy among our students and staff, and we're all looking forward to a great year this year. The North Carolina Department of Public Instruction released its 2017-2018 Ready Accountability data last week, which included graduation rates, school performance grades, student proficiency, and academic growth. Highlights for our district include that we had approximately 85% of our schools that met or exceeded academic growth, and we had an 89.2% graduation rate, both of which exceed the state averages. Congratulations to Bethany Furr, a teacher at Early College of Technology. She received a $2,000 grant from Voya Financial as part of its Unsung Heroes program, which awards grants to K-12 educators nationwide to honor their innovative teaching methods, creative educational projects, and ability to positively influence their students. Only 100 finalists are selected, and Ms. Furr is one of the only 4 North Carolina educators selected. Her grant proposal will now be considered for one of the top 3 prizes, an additional $5,000, $10,000, or $25,000 from Voya Financial. A few upcoming events for a calendar. The high school bands will present the Preview of Champions on Saturday, September 15th at Mount Pleasant High School. Gates open at 3 and performances begin at 5. I'm sure they will be watching the weather like we will be watching the weather, and if it turns out like it may, then they will certainly reschedule that, but for now that is scheduled for Saturday. Our District Realignment Committee will meet on Tuesday, September 18th at 5:30 p.m. The Cabarrus Health Alliance will offer an immunization clinic on Sunday, September 23rd from 3 to 6 p.m. You can visit the district website at www.cabarrus.k12.nc.us for more information about all of these events. I want to conclude by saying thank you to the many, many community members and organizations that donated school supplies to help students start the year with the items they need. We also want to say thank you to Books A Million at Concord Mills for the book donations that they provided.
Would you mention briefly what we do to evaluate school closing based on weather? And are any of our schools used as shelters?
Yeah, so I do not have a list in front of me of the shelters. Ms. Reimer is about to pull those up. We actually have contacted with them. So to be honest with you, Mr. Walter, it depends on the emergency of how we communicate. So if we're going to have a snow event, then we have a group that goes out and evaluates the roads. This event that's coming up is really going to be much more of a watch what's predicted and gets close to when we can make that decision. So right now we're obviously monitoring the weather like everybody else is to decide at what point winds are in effect to school buses, and usually the cutoff for that is about 40 miles an hour when that can be an issue. And so right now we're trying to figure out when will that speed be something that affects buses and how would we be able to run school with that. And we obviously are working with law enforcement and emergency management and really weather forecast to have the most information that we can. I know Mr. Reimer is pulling up. I just don't want to. Also, we have schools that have different levels of emergency management, so some that have a generator for backgrounds and others that are used depending on, again, the situation. So I guess we can come back. I don't want to tell you one that's incorrect.
That's
but-
fine. I mean, I'm just getting calls from parents. They wanting to
Yeah.
know if we're going to, what time they can expect or if they can expect school.
Yeah, and I think right now what happens in a situation like a hurricane is if it veers 200 miles to another direction, then it totally changes the plan. So right now we have to get to the point of where it'll affect us. I know what will be determined as far as shelters will be dictated by emergency management, but certainly several of our schools are locations for that depending on the emergency. And as I said, I'll want to make sure I give you the right ones. I will in just a second.
And I would actually be concerned about saying something and then the event is different, so it may be better to wait for the formal announcement based on the circumstances.
All right, but just the fact that there are schools that are designated shelters and that may become a reality.
Okay, now we'll move on to our guest speaker section, 7.01. In accordance with Board Policy 2310, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board through public comment. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments. Sign-ups will be available 30 minutes before the meeting begins. Speakers must sign up with the board clerk no later than the normal start time of the regularly scheduled monthly business meeting. There's additional information in the agenda. We do have several speakers tonight. Each will have 3 minutes to speak, and the board does not address during the speaking time, but we'll have time for comments on some of these issues later. So first speaker is Steve Alexander. Good evening.
I think I got it. Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Louder, thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. Apologize for my voice. Got a little issue. Usually it's no problem for you to hear me, but tonight might be a little different, so I apologize in advance. First off, let me say that I appreciate everything that has been done to help the after-school programs to stay active within Cabarrus County Schools. It is not an adversarial relationship because all of us here are here for one purpose, and that is the students of Cabarrus County School. Anybody that's here, anything other than that educational process, you need to kind of go, okay? So my points are this. From 2012-2013 school year, Drama Kids has been a partner with Cabarrus County Schools. We've provided after-school enrichment programs for over 200 students a year during that time frame. I could go into a number of things. Other people tonight will tell you what a difference the program has made. But the point that I really want to get to is what we would like is an equitable board policy that is fair for all. At $420 a month, where we're charging $60 a month per student, that comes up to $600. You take $600 minus $420, you come up with, you can't be in business. So one of my mentors made the statement that we're not for much profit, but we're not for loss. And so in order to be able to provide these enrichment programs for the students, we need to make a little, but we don't need to make a lot. And finally, I would like to propose that the board consider moving forward with what was in place last year with a full review with input from all interested parties, and then make a decision based on that, but at least allow these programs to start, because here it is, as Dr. Louder said, it's the third week. We usually started, we would have started 3 weeks ago. So we would like the board to consider utilizing the policies that we had in place last year. I know it was a little confusing, but I'd like for you to consider that. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. And next we have Dandy Tomczyk. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dandy Tomczyk, and I am the mom of a very self-confident 11-year-old who goes to school here in Cabarrus County Schools. Goes to 6th grade at Harris Road Middle School. As a mom, I would love to take credit for our daughter's confidence, but I know, and she'll tell you too, trust me, that Sydney's self-confidence comes from her participation in Drama Kids. Sydney has participated in Drama Kids since she was 6 years old. It was our intent to just expose Sydney to the program because we had seen a little bit of a dramatic side from her at home. But of course, we exposed to her a lot of things like ballet, soccer, gymnastics, hip hop, swimming, dance, piano, golf, etc., etc. But there was always something really special about the Drama Kids program. Drama Kids didn't teach Sydney how to memorize lines or how to get on stage to provide a perfect performance. But it has taught her skills that make her someone that someone described to us as wise beyond her years. She can have a conversation with an adult. She has stuck up for friends in real time that were being bullied. And the best part is that these are skills that she's learning through interactive games and imagining real-world scenarios, while at the same time working as a group to put on a performance. As an adult, I cringe at the thought of standing and speaking, still to this day. Perhaps if I'd been in Drama Kids, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable right now. But why I'm here is just to share our experience with the Drama Kids program and how it's brought out the best qualities in our Sydney. If you've ever been fortunate enough to attend one of the Drama Kids performances, you'll know that kids cheer each other on every step of the way. You'll know that these kids inevitably are going to miss a line or two, and no one makes them feel bad about that. And there's times that are meant to be funny, and they don't come off that way, and that's okay. Everybody laughs anyway, and everybody just moves on. Imagine that. It's not about being perfect. It's about being supportive of someone. It's about being supportive of someone that's trying to do their best. It's about being a good friend. And it's about being a good person. Sometimes it's about empathy. Sometimes it's about teamwork. Not on the field like in sports, but on the stage with a diverse group of kids. So I believe every single Cabarrus County student would benefit from participation in this program. Sydney is just one of many kids to have, sorry, I'm done. But I do think it relates to the classroom. These are skills that they're learning in an outside program that translate to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I should have described that there's a 3-minute clock, and I believe you can see it on the speaker side as well. It gives the warning at about 20 seconds, and then it beeps when it hits 3 minutes. So, thank you. And next we have Sydney. Zach, is it Zach? Check. Tomczyk. Welcome.
My name is Sydney Tomczyk. I'm here tonight to explain what Drama Kids program has meant to me. When I was 5 or 6 years old, my mom signed me up for Drama Kids. I really liked to pretend at home, and I'm an only child. My parents did seem to think I was on the dramatic side, but although I was a chatty girl when it came to speaking in front of others or others being singled out to do something in class, I was shy, as most of the other kids in my age. But that changed. At Drama Kids, we would play games, we would have activities where sometimes it would be silly, sometimes serious, and practice having to think real quick and responding in real time. Just like in life, we are not very creative and we think off the top of our heads. We also learned a lot about working together and made friends with others that I would have never made if it hadn't been for Drama Kids. I'm not sure if I have ever met anyone in Drama Kids who wants to be an actor when they grow up, but I'm sure there are someone or some people who do. I think that most kids go there because they think that learning's going to be fun. It's sort of similar to guidance in school. But at the same time, we are working together as a group towards something that our family and friends can attend. I tried other sports but in other activities, but Drama Kids has been what I've stuck with, and I have better friends, and I'm a better student, and I'm a better member of society because of what I've learned through Drama Kids. When I grow up, I want to be a lawyer. And when people ask me why I want to be a lawyer, I tell them because I want to help people. And a lot of the skills that I have learned in Drama Kids will help me with whatever career choice I make, because I have learned that everyone has a purpose. Everyone can be a part of something special. Drama Kids was a big part of my time in elementary school, and I'm very sad to think that it might not be offered to other kids to learn how they can express themselves like I can. Thank you for allowing me to be here today and speak tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Laura Preta. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you? Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Laura Preta. I'm the managing director and owner of Bricks for Kids. To echo what Sydney said, my daughter is also sitting there, and she did participate. A mother of 3 Cabarrus County children. She did participate when she was younger in Drama Kids, and maybe some kids wanted to be on stage. She definitely always has, and she was the lead in Harrisburg's play both last year and the year before. So kids do go on, and they take the confidence and they move on, and that's also what we do in Bricks for Kids. And I know I sent an email, and other people speak to the benefits of the program. I don't think we need to discuss those. But for those of you that don't know what we do, we're a STEM-based educational enrichment program that ties educational topics with hands-on learning and Legos. Like, who doesn't love Legos? Kids love Legos, parents love Legos, we all love Legos. Over the past 5 years, we've had the honor of offering our beneficial program to thousands of children through Cabarrus County Schools and a partnership through the school's PTAs, PTOs, and PTSOs. Through these partnerships, we've donated tens of thousands of dollars back to the schools for them to use for their students. We've offered scholarships and mentorships to other Cabarrus County students. And at the end of the close of the 2017-2018 school year, we re-entered into these agreements with the schools, the same that we have for the past 5 years, through verbal and email communication. My hope tonight is that the board, on behalf of Cabarrus County students and families, will favor an honoring of these agreements for the 2018-2019 school year. This will allow the children to continue to learn and grow, to earn the special skills that they'll need to go on and not just build with Legos, but build friendships and build skills that will take them in careers in engineering and architecture and anything they really want to be. This will allow them to continue that. Families in Cabarrus County will have the opportunity for choices for their students and for that enjoyment to be right at their schools. And school PTAs and PTOs and PTSOs to continue to receive the money they have already budgeted for the 2018-2019 school year. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I know you said not now, but obviously at a further time.
Right.
All right,
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Suzanne Kearney. And Ms. Kearney, if you can fill out the rest of this form.
Sure.
We just need to have the complete information.
Right now?
So, no, we'll give it to Mrs. Abbott on the end, and you can fill out at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Again, my name is Suzanne Kearney. I am the director of New Beginnings Preschool. Been the director for 7 years, and I have also been an early childhood educator for 12 years. I am here tonight to advocate on behalf of the after-school program, Bricks for Kids, which I currently teach at Arbau McAllister and last year Beverly Hills Elementary. This is a Lego-based program that requires students to collaborate with one another, problem solve together, and work as a team. Major social skills are at play during these sessions. How to resolve conflict and compromise with one another. These are foundational skills that will serve them for years to come. After offering this program at the preschool level, I jumped at the opportunity to be an instructor at the elementary level. And although it follows many of the same principles, the elementary level involved higher level thinking. It is not uncommon for this after-school enrichment program to be the only extracurricular activity many of these students are involved in. As it stands with the current cost structure, these families are currently able to afford this additional programming for their children. Should costs increase beyond the current level, the majority of these families simply will not be able to participate in this program. I would like to share with you a small glimpse of the Bricks for Kids program and how it has impacted one particular student, so I'm going to speak on behalf of that child. We'll call him Daniel. Daniel's story is synonymous of many other children in this program. Daniel started the program with me last year, was a typical fourth grader with tons of energy. Bricks for Kids was really his only extracurricular activity his parents could allow him to attend. At first, Daniel was a reluctant builder. He had a hard time focusing on the step-by-step instructions and was quick to give up and would become frustrated. It was not uncommon for Daniel to have an incomplete build by the end of our session. By the second session, his builds were halfway complete. By the third, his builds were nearing completion. And by the fifth session, he was able to complete not only the more challenging builds, but he had even begun to offer his help to others. The pride this child felt with this accomplishment was so overwhelming that his mother remarked repeatedly how Daniel shared his enthusiasm with his family every Thursday evening. He said his goal was to eventually earn the title of Master Builder. With the Bricks for Kids program, Daniel learned so much more than just how to build with Legos. He learned patience, perseverance, teamwork, attention to detail, communication skills, and he developed a strong sense of accomplishment. It is important for these children to learn these skills now, and this program specifically targets these skill sets. It is my strong hope that the board is able to come to a decision in favor of continuing this program at the current cost structure and agreement. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Carrie Hanson. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Carrie Hanson. I'm the Executive Director of Girls on the Run Charlotte. Girls on the Run is a nonprofit organization serving approximately 4,000 girls a year in Mecklenburg and Cabarrus counties alone at over 150 locations, including public schools, private schools, charter schools, and community-based locations. For 22 years, we have provided after-school programming to girls in 3rd through 8th grade, proven to build their confidence, connection, character, competence, care for themselves and others, and to help them to make a contribution to their own communities, all while giving them a safe space to thrive and achieve big goals and build healthy habits that last a lifetime. We've been providing after-school programming in Cabarrus County for over 10 years and currently work with 12 schools. 8 of those schools are Title I schools, including Bethel, Beverly Hills STEM, Carl A. Furr, Coltrane Webb STEM, Cox Mill, Wolf Meadow, Royal Oaks, W.M. Irvin, W.R. Odell, Weinkauf, Winkler Middle, and Harris Road Middle. We don't charge anything to the schools themselves, and the families pay based on their ability to. We offer scholarship assistance to over 50% of our participants, and we waive all of the fees for girls who are in part of the McKinney-Vento program. We even provide new running shoes to the girls who need them, and we also carry an $11 million liability policy. We were recently told by W.R. Odell that they were going to begin charging us $95 a day to use their outdoor space for an hour and a half. Our program primarily takes place outside during the hours that there's still employees at the school. We meet twice a week for 10 weeks, offering 2 seasons a year. For us to continue to serve Cabarrus County schools, that would cost us about $45,000 a year, just for the schools that we're currently in, without expanding. As a nonprofit, it's really my responsibility to make prudent financial decisions. We want to continue to serve the needs of Cabarrus County schools, as we've heard from many principals, teachers, and families that this is a critical need for their students, as you've heard from other providers today. On behalf of not only the Girls on the Run families, but all of the families who rely on nonprofit enrichment programs, please consider the impact that you will have not only to our students, but the families, especially the most in-need ones. If you decide to begin charging exorbitant fees to nonprofit service providers, it will definitely provide a gap in service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next we have Crystal Shepard.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name's Crystal Shepard, and I have a student that goes, a second grader that goes to Wolf Meadow Elementary. And I am just coming to you tonight to ask to stop the year-round school. We were told it was a 3-year trial, and it is a 3-year trial. This is our 3rd year that we're doing it, and it is just so hard. And I understand that you are the guys that make the rules, but we are the parents that have the children in there. We are the parents that have to figure out how to get our kids to school or find something for them to do during the break. We have no family here, as many families at that school, and it is a huge inconvenience for us to try to find somewhere for them to go, beg somebody to watch our children when we go to work, when it should be our responsibility. And it's hard to make my daughter understand why she has to get up at 6:30 to get ready for school when her brother gets to sleep till like 1 o'clock during the summer. She just doesn't understand, and it's a big inconvenience when we have to take her and then we have to find somewhere, like for her to stay. It's just hard for us. This year for Easter break, they'll be out a week, they'll go back a week, and then they'll be out another 2 weeks. So just put yourself in our shoes and see how you would be able to do that for your child, how you would, and I know they're offering a camp this year, and last year they did not offer a camp, so then that was a bigger struggle. So, but if you do the camp, it's hard to get them there because it's only like a short time limit to drop them off. We love the school, we love the teachers, we love the staff. I just don't like the year round. And I know that I'm just one voice of many for Wolf Meadow, and you're gonna have parents that like it, parents that don't. I just don't like it. So I figured I would come up here, let my voice be heard, and if you could just make this the last year for it, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
And next we have Tammy Baird.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for listening to me tonight. I'm here to try to stop the year-round school. I've just recently started a petition, and I actually have a lot of signatures from parents that are not for this year-round school. It's an inconvenience for parents that work on 2 different calendars. Their calendars at Wolf Meadow this year has changed, where we went back to school almost 2 weeks earlier than we did last year. The Easter break, that's an inconvenience to go to school for a week. Get out of school, go back to school, it's just an inconvenience. I work on 2 different calendars, and it's really hard. I think that the parents need to be heard, and I don't think all the parents were ever heard when Wolf Meadow decided to go year-round. I have lots of signatures, and I think it should be stopped. I think parents should be heard, and it's our kids. It's not theirs. We're the ones that have to sacrifice for this year-round school. It's not changing anything. Grades haven't gone up. There's still absences in the summertime. My kids have to stay out in the summertime because we only get our vacation in August. So I have to keep my kids out for 4 days when we can go out on family vacation. I just think it's a big inconvenience for year-round schooling with working on 2 different calendars for parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Sullivan. Hello.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Jean Sullivan, and I'm speaking towards the facility usage policy. I'm a member of Pitts Baptist Church and a ministry coordinator for the Good News Club that meets in Fur Elementary, and there's also one in Mount Pleasant. Speaking specifically for Fur, we've had our Good News Club at Fur for the past 2 years, And over the several years, our church has done much for Fur Elementary. We've been able to use the school facilities as a result of the in-kind donations from our church. They've done grounds cleanup, volunteers for tutoring, screening, vision, the penguin shop, Thanksgiving meals delivered to families, and Christmas presents for needy families, only to mention a few. The Good News Club children receive a t-shirt. Every week they receive a snack and a drink. 3 times a year they receive a bag full of goodies. And we provide prizes throughout the year for them to earn. Our volunteers and Pitts Baptist fund these clubs. There's absolutely no cost to the children. And although these things of serving the children, giving them snacks and stuff, I've been told that that wouldn't count as an in-kind agreement, but it does serve the children of Fur Elementary. We teach Bible lessons, but through the Bible lessons we teach respect, loving your neighbor, treating others the way you want to be treated, standing up for right, etc. So in other words, they're receiving character training through our club. The resource officer at Fur Elementary, Officer Grasty, has personally told me and a number of my volunteers that he's seen a great difference in the behavior of the children since Good News Club started at the school. So I'd ask you to carefully weigh your decision about the facility usage and what it would cost so that we could continue with the Good News Club and it would be an additional financial burden. Please make a decision that would allow for more clubs to operate into your school. All these clubs are free. And please make a decision that will enable our club to continue without the financial burden. Thank you for this opportunity.
Owen Taylor.
Thank you for letting me be here today. I'd like to support Drama Kids, and my name is Owen Taylor, and this is my sister Leah. We are both students at Carley Fur Elementary. I am in 4th grade, and my sister is in 2nd grade. To begin, I want to say that my parents did help me write this short speech, but I want to deliver the words myself. We are here tonight to ask the board to reconsider price increase for the Drama Kids After School program in Cabarrus County. For those of you who are unfamiliar to Drama Kids, it is an after-school program for students that teaches acting and stage performing. At the end of the year, the students put on a performance for friends and family. Leah and I have been doing Drama Kids for 2 years now. We look forward to staying after school to practice stage acting. The teachers help us memorize our lines, learn stage directions, and how to follow cues. The Drama Kids program is important to us in many ways. For one, it is an activity we all enjoy. It has led us both to pursue our productions outside of school. Next, because my parents are both teachers and Drama Kids program provides care until it is over. Last and most importantly, Drama Kids gives us the confidence to do things like this, stand up in front of a room of strangers to deliver messages. We understand that school costs money to run, but we are asking the school board to please rethink the price increase of Drama Kids. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Jerry, and I'm not sure of the spelling of his last name. S-L?
Sorry. I type a lot better than I write.
Could you spell your last name for me, please?
S-E-A-G-O, Sego.
S-E-A-G-O. Thank you.
Thank you all for letting me speak tonight. My name is Jay Seago. I'm the Greater Charlotte Regional Director for a nonprofit boys character building and running program called Let Me Run. We're only in or have been in like 4 schools here in Cabarrus County. One of my goals as Regional Director is to grow our program in this county. But we're in about 100 schools in the Greater Charlotte area. In the schools that we have served here, over half of our kids have been on a scholarship. And honestly, when I found out about the fees that were being proposed, I thought it was a joke. Because everybody up here that you can hear speaking, the providers, we're not here to make money. No, I make way less money doing what I do right now than I did as a teacher. We're here to make a difference. There's no way we can do that with a $95 a day fee. If we did that at the schools we're in, I would lose $2,000 from our bottom line every year. And our bottom line is so tight that I have to ask to print in color at work. So I just ask you guys, please reconsider. We're all in this to do great services for your students. We're wanting them to get different exposure to things other than just tutoring. We want them to have great life experiences. So please, please reconsider this fee. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, Ashley Rush. Hello.
My name is Ashley Rush. I've been a teacher at James Robinson High School for 12 years, and I come to you with 2 different roles tonight. The first is as the advisor for the Key Club at James Robinson High School. We are a service organization. We do hundreds of hours of service in our local community every year, and part of that has been the Bricks for Kids program over at Weddington Hills, and Pitt School Elementary, and Carl Furr Elementary. I have been able to send our James Robinson students to those schools to work with elementary kids on a weekly basis to give them lots of opportunity to build their leadership skills, to be able to work with children that can look up to them to say, one day I want to go and play a part of this as a high schooler in the future as well. My other role that I come to you to talk to you about tonight is as a parent. Back there is a very shy little boy wearing his Bricks for Kids Master Builder shirt that he loves so much. He is a 3rd grader and has been in Bricks for Kids since he was a kindergartner at Weddington Hills Elementary. He goes every week. He absolutely loves it. He gets to work on his engineering skills to build things and gets to use his creativity and his imagination. And he doesn't do sports. He's not an athletic kid. That's just not what he's interested in or what he is interested in. This is what his interest is. And if this goes away, his one extracurricular that he likes goes away with it. So I just ask you guys to reconsider the proposal to change the price increase. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that is the conclusion of the guest speakers tonight. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts. Board members will now move on to 8.01, the approval of the consent agenda that we discussed last week. Do I have a motion for approval?
Second.
So was that Mr. Harrison? And Mr. Shoemaker made the second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Now we'll move on to the action agenda. Welcome Ms. Reimer, Mrs. Burns. And we'll review policy 5015.
Yes, ma'am. We made the corrections that you guys spoke of last week and had no other comments this week. So,
okay, board members, any?
all right, let's see what
It's only the number 5, item 5 that has changed, other than the references. Is that correct? No, what I'm saying is the only change to that policy is that or number 5.
Yes, ma'am, and I think the board just asked for that to be on action.
Madam Chair, move that we approve 5015 as presented.
Okay, Dr. Kirk made the motion. Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Wait a minute, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, 9.01.
computer is not helping me here.
It's in front of you.
Oh.
If you want to see the change in line there. This is the only change other than the references. It's just cross-referencing to the employee, community, and political activities policy.
Okay, so this is just referring to the policies, it's not.
Yes. It's saying the school volunteers comply with the cross-reference policy, the community and political activities.
Okay, so this is just referring to the policy itself then.
Well, the related policy.
Okay. Why is my thing not going?
Yeah, it's not pulling up.
No, it's not going up.
Any other comments? Other board members?
It's referred to the policy that we push back to the policy committee, right?
Yes, but that policy already exists, right? 7720 already exists. So the portion that already exists is applicable to volunteers as well. And then at some point, we'll go back to 7720. Here, Karen, you want to see it here?
It's just, that 7720 though, what is it saying that, what does 77 refer to?
So that's not changed right now. This is just superintendent designee will be responsible for the implementation and supervision of school volunteer programs. School volunteer programs must provide the following: screening of volunteers, requirement of volunteers comply with visitors to school, responsible supervision of volunteers, and adequate training of volunteers.
Okay, and
the requirement that volunteers comply with the community and political activities.
So if you want to see what that
yes,
policy is,
it's
can you
77.
bring up 7720?
Yeah, bring up 7720. I want to make sure before I say yeah.
Yeah, you were okay with it last week, I think.
I think I was, but I want to make absolutely sure. Yeah, bring me 7720. I think I was okay with that. I think we were okay with 7720. Okay. All right. I think that one was okay.
Okay. Any further discussion?
think
All in,
we're-
okay.
I think we were okay.
That's just the description.
Okay. During school involves school money materials. Okay. I think we were okay with that one. Okay.
Okay. All in favor of policy 5015, school volunteers on first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that one passes 7-0. So we'll go to 9.02, approval of policy 5240, advertising in schools.
So there was one change from last week's meeting. We added without permission from the board in number 11 on page 3 of 4. That change has been made.
Okay, and that was clarification, so we didn't conflict with other policies.
The only question, there was still kind of a gray area, because I had some people ask me, is it okay to wear the buttons or T-shirts into the schools? Because, all right, Mr. Attorney, that is still not clear whether people can go into our schools and wear their buttons or their campaign shirts. And that's been asked by some of the other candidates, and that's what...
I think it can't be during the school day. I forget what policy that's in.
Because, again, we've got candidates, during these meetings, they're sitting out there with campaign buttons and things actually in these meetings, and they're being televised, and they've got their buttons on here. This is...
Yeah, except the audience isn't in the view. And I think that has more to do with during the school day, and disrupting the school day.
You're saying during school day. All right, so you're saying candidates during the school day, they can't go on our campuses with their buttons on or their T-shirts on. It's saying that that's not allowed during school days.
So that would be under policy 7720 that we push back to policy, and Mr. Shaw can speak to that.
During school hours. During school hours, you're saying. If it's after school hours, it's okay. At a football game, at a play, anytime else. But if it's from anytime during school hours, then they cannot have their buttons on or their T-shirts on or whatever. You're saying that is policy.
Yeah, we'll let Mr. Shaw clarify.
Ms. Carpenter, are you referring to employees or are you referring to political candidates? Because 7720, which is not on the agenda tonight, that's for employees. That's got a lot of information about what employees can and cannot do, and there's a lot to discuss in that area, and that's why I think it was pushed off until after the election, so there's a chance for the policy committee to address it firmly. If you're asking about candidates,
Okay, basically the candidate. The candidate comes in, or somebody that, somebody else, but they come into our school during school hours, say they're coming to deliver something, or they're coming in, and they have got a candidate's button on, or the candidate themselves come into the school. And they've got one of their buttons on, or they've got one of their beautiful T-shirts on with their name on it or something like that. Can they do it during school hours? I'm just asking.
Yeah,
I want it clarified because I don't want somebody coming in and then somebody say something about it or something. I want to make sure that it's clarified for everybody so nobody gets their feelings hurt or somebody's doing something.
Ms. Carpenter, this one is not relating anything to politics. It's about advertising only. So what you're asking about, you're asking about something completely different. This is about.
Well, I've been asked this, and I want to make sure it's clarified.
But this doesn't talk about political parties or anything else. It's about advertising products and businesses doing advertising. It's strictly only about that.
Well, this
But
is
it could be advertising.
It is advertising its
I didn't see
own.
anything about politics listed in there. It just said.
But we're talking about advertising, and that's
Yeah,
advertising.
it does. The implication is, and the reason it came up was because of political advertising. So,
I thought that's what 7720 was about.
7720 is pretty detailed. It can be reviewed, but it's pretty detailed, but that deals with employee political activity. And I don't think 7720 really deals with candidate political activity. I didn't find an existing policy that was very right on point for candidates. And I thought the two most applicable policies were 5210, which is distribution and display of non-curricular material. And then perhaps 5240, though I agree with Mr. Shoemaker that is really dealing more with commercial advertising. I think that's
but
the
it's not
thrust.
restricted. So, for example, in 52, what's that?
It says individuals, so you're.
Yeah, that includes political, personal advertising.
Right.
So in 5240, the red line number 4, regarding school system electronic communications, phone, text messages, basically, people can't use the school system email for any type of advertising, or the Facebook or the Twitter account or whatever else you could come up with. So I think that campaigning is in a way personal advertising.
I think that's a good issue to clarify, because I don't think the policy is particularly clear. On 5210, at the work session, when the policy went to the work session, again, this is 5210, about non-curricular materials, there was an item 8 that was proposed to be added that would prohibit distribution of materials promoting, opposing, or endorsing a political party, candidate, or political issue. That raised the political point. I think the board's sense was this needs more time to reflect and discuss. So that section 8 was removed from 5210, and it does not have a prohibition on political parties, I don't think, right now. And so I think the issue probably goes toward what is advertising, and the board is the master of its own of its policies, it can determine what a policy means as long as it's reasonably, interpretation is reasonably supported.
I would suggest that 5240, that we add the cross-reference to the 7001 that we moved off.
7720,
Whatever,
the employee.
no, the one that is about political advertising, to just cross-define that that is advertising as well.
$52.40.
So in 5240, I'd suggest we just add the cross-reference at the end to the, it's not for the employee, but it's just in general the political advertising.
I don't think there is a cross-reference there.
There's not a,
I don't think so.
I personally don't see the need in adding another couple of line items to this policy. If Carolyn wants to wear her Vince Powell for school board sticker, let her wear
Well,
it.
if you want to wear your
Wherever
Carol
she would-
Carpenter one,
that'd be
that's fine with
me.
me. But I just want to make sure we've got it specified that you can wear my Carol Carpenter one and I can wear your Vince Powell one. But I want to make sure we're okay in doing that. And so that's what I'm wanting to clarify. I don't want either one of us to be kicked out if we do that.
yeah. I think what we want to help protect is that staff has had to deal with at schools.
Right.
Painting over things.
And I think we've added that provision regarding painting.
Yeah, you know, removing signs that were up close to the front door when it was not election day, things of that nature.
Utilizing school facilities as a drop or a setting or school property, we've added a
it's-
provision to that on 5240.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I think it's important on 5240, the last sentence, the very first paragraph introducing this policy, it says school officials shall screen and approve the distribution and display of advertising material. So that should be pushed down to the principals and where the rubber meets the road. I'm not too sure that we sitting here in the lofty Supreme Court position can determine what's proper or not. I would defer, as a policy implies, to the boots in the ground and let the principal and school officials make that call.
Very good point, Dr. Kirk. It actually is covered already in that first paragraph. So,
And I would say paragraph B does list 7 items that are specifically prohibited. They does not list political items. So it's not as if it's a violation of policy. And following Dr. Kirk's approach, I think it would be more local level as to whether perhaps is this disruption impact. What's the impact on that campus?
So I can give Vince my shirt then and my campaign button to wear?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead and bring me yours, Vince.
Madam Chair,
yes, Mr. Harrison.
I'm starting to get uncomfortable about us spending so much time discussing matters that affect us as board members and as candidates and as politicians, and I wish we would get back to the focus of educating children and supporting teachers. Please.
Yeah.
So we think
Thanks,
we've got
Darcy.
this covered.
Yeah.
I had that question asked, I just wanted verification, basically.
Yeah. And I think, Mr. Harrison, the overall goal is to, with the change in social media and different forms of communication and whatnot, that we do keep it as a learning environment and don't have our staff diverted to other activities.
So Madam Chair, to that point, I move that we accept 5240 as presented.
And I second.
Okay, Dr. Kirk made the motion, Mr. Shoemaker made the second. Any further discussion on 5240? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, so that's one, Mr. Powell opposed. So motion passes 6-1. Okay, so 9.03, the consideration of the 2019-2020 traditional calendar.
Yes, ma'am. This was put on action last week. We received no questions or comments concerning the calendar, so we'd ask that it be approved as presented.
Any questions, board members?
I'll make the motion that we approve this calendar.
So Mr. Walter made the motion, Mr. Harrison made the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No. 6-1 with Mr. Powell dissenting. Thank you. Next, we'll have the facilities use agreement form. And we have in our agenda a temporary waiver proposal. I'm sorry, it's just opening up here. Mr. Shaw, do you want to introduce this to us?
Sure, be glad to. As you know, at the work session last week, the issue came up about the after-school enrichment programs, or programs that we've heard some discussion tonight, and the impact of fees. And it was pointed out that staff has been applying the policy as it's written to enforce fees, but perhaps not been applied that way in the past. So it's a change to practice. And I think my understanding is quite a consensus on the board that this needs to be addressed by the policy committee and then the board in detail to determine, is the current policy right the way, does it do what we want to do? Do we want to revise it some way? But that's a policy committee, then full board discussion. Then the issue came up, well, what about the uses that were in operation last school year? Do we put them on hold pending that discussion by the policy committee and board, or would there be a possibility of allowing them to continue on the same terms as last year? And I said, that's a board decision, and it is purely a board decision, but I was asked to prepare a waiver in case the board has an interest in that. So I've submitted a temporary waiver, the purpose of which would be to maintain the status quo of existing programs on the same terms and conditions as last year, but allow that waiver or maintenance of the status quo to go through December 31 of this year. By that time, the policy committee and the board can address the matter in more detail. And of course, at that time, the board could determine to keep the policy as it is or extend the waiver another 6 months. It's whatever the board wants to do after further discussion. I submitted a draft. I've had input from administration. A few board members have weighed in and made some, everybody's had some good suggestions and comments. So it's available to you. I'm glad to try to answer any questions, but it's purely a board call.
Okay, I have a couple things, I guess. I don't know, Ms. Klutz, if you're the one who can answer this or who can answer for me. One is, we had talked about the facilities use form would still need to be completed because in some cases it had not been completed. And we didn't have a record of who was actually using the facility and so on.
Correct.
So does the facilities use form, it requires the identification of liability insurance, which several speakers addressed.
Right. The
Does it
certificate.
require background checks of those working with children?
It did not. And so we were sure to make sure that in the waiver that Mr. Shaw drafted, it would indicate that there was a need for a background check.
Yeah, it's not in the current policy or application use. It was added in this circumstance because of the direct involvement, one close working with the children.
So do we need to modify our facility use agreement?
That would be among the issues to address
As we go
this fall.
Right. As we go to policy committee, it would be addressed.
Okay. But it should be included because, for example, if we require a volunteer who is doing reading tutoring or a volunteer athletic coach, they have to sign it and have the background check. So I want to make sure that, you know, we have many fronts to be consistent on here. So.
After kind of thinking it through last week or so, and hearing the speakers tonight, I think that extending it through the end of the calendar year maybe sets us up for another kind of pulling the rug out from under some of these groups if we don't kind of go forward with this policy committee. And I know, you know, things happen and sometimes policies don't get kind of adjusted as quickly as we think. Sometimes it takes, 6-7 months occasionally. I would like to consider just maybe extending it to the end of the school year this year. That would give us a full kind of opportunity for the policy committee to work and maybe just set a deadline of maybe the June meeting or something of that nature, so we can have a decision made right at the end of school where these programs wrap up, and they're or maybe before that.
Yeah, Mr. Powell,
Want me to
I'd
make a
actually
motion? I'm sorry.
suggest, hold on just a moment, please. I'd actually suggest we put it on the agenda tonight for review in November to get a status of the policy committee, and if it's insurmountable volume of things to change that we won't get them all back to finalize, then we will know by November's meeting. I worry about, and you won't know this necessarily, but the people from each of these enrichment programs, activities, whatever, are they checking in through the front desk? What is the transition? There's a lot more questions that raise, in my mind, what is the transition of students? So they're leaving the care of the school. Normally we would put them on a bus or get them into the car rider line. And is it a school employee who's bringing them to a certain room, and then who is picking them up? And I think it's probably all handled fine, but I think it just raised questions in my mind about how is all that happening, because we have school employees still there during a lot of these programs, and who's managing what. So I'm just curious about the clarifications. So.
Ms. Furtenball, the staff of our schools are wonderful. They take care of our students, and they make sure they get where they need to go, and that has happened for years and years. I think those transitions have been super appropriate, and I've heard of no problems. Maybe if you know of some other incidents, please share, and let's address those specifically.
No, I'm just curious about the whole process. The other thing I wanted
Usually I get called for getting in the weeds, so.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up is talk to one citizen who, with Girl Scouts, could not afford the fees, even though they were a nonprofit, and then having a for-profit. So that's really for policy committee to kind of look at, maybe make a matrix or something of, if you fall into these categories, here's a reduced rate or no rate or whatever it comes up with. But I think there's so many different types of situations, just like the lady from Pitts Baptist Church spoke, and groups like that give back. So, Mr. Harrison?
And this is just a technical question, if our attorney possibly could answer it. If these enrichment programs, I assume each of them have done their own due diligence and background checks of their staff, their people. Could the school system accept their background checks in lieu of doing a double background check on these people? I mean, if that's a concern, can we go ahead and accept the documentation that these enrichment programs already have, or do we have to duplicate it in effect?
I think
And
Ms.
I know
Jones
there's
wants to
legal
talk to us about
implications
that.
there too. But.
Yeah.
So I'll defer some of this, sorry, I'll defer some of this to our attorney, but just, I guess what we have to think about here is what we do, background checks on recommended applicants, we do it on employees, we do it on substitutes, we do it on those that are school-sponsored athletics. We do not do vendor background checks. And when you look at what our background, what we ask, we do it on our student, teacher, interns, principal interns, that kind of thing. Those things that we're responsible for, not outside agencies that are conducting something on our campus. We did ask Mr. Shaw to make sure he included that we would want a background check, not us, I don't need a background check for their employee, but that they meet our criteria. And what we do with our background checks is we do an address history trace. We do the North Carolina Statewide Council of Criminal Search for all 100 counties, the North Carolina Federal Criminal Search. We do a comprehensive criminal nationwide search. We do a sex offender national search, and we do a security watch that's about 30 different federal government agencies like terrorist or FBI most wanted. And when you look at the average cost of an applicant background check for what we do, in 2017 that was about $50, $49.58. For a typical North Carolina search only, it was about $21.95. So if they're an employee of Cabarrus County Schools, we also pay an additional fee to have them as part of guardian, which means that if a person is charged with a crime after they're our employee, I get an alert. And so then that person has 24 hours to notify us. Depending upon the seriousness of it, we may get to them before they get to us, kind of thing. So it's where we would normally say when we have an MOU is with an outside agency, we want your background check to be as comprehensive as ours, right? But we're not going to take your background check and then we're not going to run that for you just because of the, like volunteers, we do volunteer background checks for those that are during this instructional day working with our students, but we do not put them in guardian because they're not our employees, right? So that's an additional cost to be able to do that. Does that make sense?
And that's the more prudent approach, obviously.
I'm sorry?
That's a very prudent approach.
Mrs. Carpenter?
The only question I have, because I thought our thing was anybody that had any connection with our children, because one of the question is when I do proctoring, I had to be.
Correct.
I had to be.
We consider you a volunteer when you do that, so you have to have a background check. But if you're running an
had
after,
to be, so I
that's
could
correct.
take him to the restroom.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, and I didn't mind that.
That falls under the volunteer category.
Oh, okay. And but
Proctors do not have background checks.
Yes, well, they do. They may not have in the past, but they do.
As of right now, that's a new policy this year?
No, sir.
Anytime.
That's a new,
No, it's
Had
not.
to be.
It's not a new policy. Ms. Carpenter, when did you have yours done? When did you proctor?
At least two years ago. I mean, I had to
It's
be-
been several years, Mr. Powell, so if we have
Let me
pockets
look.
where that's not happened, then you need to let us know that.
Yeah. And it was one of the things, especially if you take them to the restroom or.
it's neither here nor there. I mean, we can address that later. Maybe you can have a conversation about that and make sure that's whatever you feel like it needs to be, that's fine. That'll be okay.
Well, I passed. I passed.
And we know where you are, too.
Very good. I'd like to make a motion to approve this policy, but extend it through the end of the school year. Or, I'm sorry, to approve this waiver, but extend it through the end of the school year. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so Vince made the motion, Carolyn made the second. Any further discussion?
Ms. Powell, just a quick question, since we're discussing now. If we go through the end of the school year, the way this this umbrella is cast, if you want to expand your existing program, you cannot under the terms of this amendment, is that correct?
That's the way this reads, yes.
By virtue of expanding, meaning go to other school campuses, but not limit your enrollment, et cetera. I mean, more kids can enroll as long as you're already at that campus. Is that what you're intending?
That was my understanding. I want to make sure that I know that some of these groups want to, as we've heard, want to go to other schools in Cabarrus County, or they want to expand an existing program that's got the 2 or 3 years track record. They can't go to another school this 2018, 2019 year. That's how
This
I
is
read it.
only if you were there the full last school year.
That's my understanding as well, given the fact that we've already started school.
And that's mine as well. The one point I would raise with regard to moving this from December 31 to June 30, I guess, is paragraph 6, which talks about the Board of Education and/or the principal having sole discretion to withdraw the waiver prior to the end. And I think
Same date.
And, yeah.
Madam Chair, I'll vote against the proposal because last week we kind of agreed that we were going to set this for expiration on December 31st. And I think if we just put that in the very near future, it will motivate all parties to get on the same page. And I mean that in a neutral kind of way. If we all just agree to get in sync with one another, we can resolve this going forward. But instead of dragging it out until June, when lots of other stuff is going on.
Well, I agree with you, Mr. Harrison, because I feel like we owe an answer to the other organizations who did not come forward regarding and it's not a change in policy, it was a consistent implementation of the policy. So they did not all come forward, and I don't want to be unfair to them by not resolving this fairly quickly.
Well, my reasoning for going along with this is a lot of people are dependent on this because money have gone to PTSOs and they have budgeted for a year because these people have been giving them 10% of their profits. They've been doing this, and these PTO depend on these monies. They've said, hey, you've been giving me this money all along, and they budget their budgets for years. And they've been, especially if these programs have been in effect for 5 years. And all of a sudden you say, you're not going to be here now. And so let's...
I think likewise, Ms. Carpenter, though, we have the other groups, the church groups, the Girl Scouts and whatnot, who, everybody who uses our facilities haven't come forward. So I don't want to make this waiver to be molded for a certain subset. And we need to really go forward and address.
Well, I know, but David, me and you both know how long it took us to hammer out this thing the last time. It took us a good 2 or 3 months to hammer out this last one. And this is going to be a pretty complex thing. So I would rather us not rush and to get it right this first time.
Let's get an update in November 2018, in a couple months, just to see how it's going. And if it looks like if we're not going to have a first reading in November, then we'll need to extend it.
And Ms. Carpenter, as of January 1st, it doesn't mean that it's going to get worse for these organizations who provide such a great set of programs and learning opportunities for our children. Frankly, I'm mulling the idea of requiring no fee for 501(c) groups and $1 a year for groups that are for profit. I mean, it doesn't have to become a worse deal for these groups if we go ahead and get on the same page and get consistent in the application of this policy. So January 1st wouldn't mean that the situation for each of these groups would be more onerous for them. We have time and we have a focus now to get it right and to move forward with a policy that could take effect in the beginning of the year, the calendar year.
I think we could still come up with a policy and a change, but I do think some of these programs are year-long programs, and people invest in those things. And we have a clause in here that says you're not supposed to, you can't collect funds beyond December 31st, so I'm not comfortable with that. I think allowing these folks to go ahead and do their program for the year, and when we do come up with whatever we're going to come up with, then anyone new will have guidelines on what those fees are going to be. But for the folks that are existing, that have been there for last couple of years, allow them to continue for this upcoming school year.
Okay, so we have the motion on the floor to extend.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Actually, Mr. Shaw, if we should come up with a solution prior, let's just say that we go with the June 30th, but we are able to come up with a solution prior to that time, would that solution then override this waiver, or how do you set the language up so that the waiver then folds into the new solution that does get developed?
That's paragraph 6. So let's say the board comes up with a new solution effective January 1 and applies it January 1, that can override, they can rescind this waiver and apply the new policy. Or the group or the board could say, let's take our new policy, but let's not apply it until 2019-20. It's whatever the board wants to do once it has the policy the way it likes it. The board can either apply it for the rest of this school year or can apply it beginning next school year.
So implied in the withdrawal is also the inherent to extend.
The board can do whatever it wants.
I mean, are you saying the sole discretion to withdraw this waiver, but also implied is that we also have the opportunity to extend it?
Sure. Now, for example, if understand the motion now is to run it through June 30. We make paragraph 6 June 30.
Right.
But at any time, the board can come in, once it has its solution, and impose that solution at that time or any time at once. So I don't regard this as binding the board in any way. It just enables these programs to continue for a while, whether it's 3 months or 9 months, until we address these issues. And they're pretty knotty, K-N-O-T-T-Y issues. It's, you know, then there are a lot of arguments on either sides of these things, so it's going to take a while to work through it.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of extending the applicable dates in the draft waiver to June 30th, 2018, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so what do we have? Vince, Rob, Carolyn, anybody down here saying aye? Okay. Any opposed, say nay. 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 Okay, the motion does not pass by a motion of 3 to 4.
Madam Chair, move to accept the waiver policy as worded and presented.
Okay, Mr. Harrison made the motion to accept the original draft. The second?
With clarification that the policy committee and
Can I make
legal
a friendly amendment to yours?
will work on this by December 31st for the next step. And a
Mr.
report-
Harrison, would you accept a friendly amendment to this?
And a report in November, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Not an audio.
Oh.
Not an audio.
All right, I'll second it. And now I'll make a friendly amendment to Mr. Harrison's motion, is that we would review this, review our progress as of the November board meeting. And if there is no progress at that point, then we would then extend this to the end of the year.
End of the school year.
Into the school year, yes.
Okay,
I'll
so,
second that.
okay, so let's back up. We have to go inside out on here.
Yep, so I
on the
need a second
motions.
on my motion, so
Okay,
I think Carolyn
so-
just did.
Mr. Shoemaker made the motion on the amendment to approve as is with a mandated review in November 2018 and based on progress and extension to the end of the school year. And Carolyn seconded the amended. Any discussion on the
So that's
amendment?
modifying language to insert that it's automatically extended to the end of the school year?
Not automatically.
If that condition,
We'll vote again in November.
Yeah, it needs another vote because
another vote, okay.
well, it's difficult to measure satisfactory progress.
Well, that's right, it's not,
So that's why-
it's not defined. So.
Yeah, we'll take another vote. Okay, so all in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carolyn, are you aye or nay?
Well, is it, but we're going to vote again, though, at that point.
Yeah, in November, well, based on whatever report we receive back.
And I can get it to the end of the year.
Yeah, at that time, if there's not progress.
So we're,
I'm waiting for the vote. It's not discussion time.
Oh, wait a
Except when
minute.
you were discussing it with
Answer
Carolyn just now.
question. Let him ask his question. What's your
So just clarifying your point, that in November, the vote will happen to extend the next month. So
No,
we're asking them to
end of
go
the
month
school
by
year.
month.
To the
End
end
of
of
the
the
school year.
school year.
Yes, we'll evaluate in November. Let's see, this may be a less stressful solution than originally thought with the policy committee. Okay, so less difficult, challenging. So we have ayes, Dr. Kirk, Harrison, and myself. Carolyn, which way are you voting? Are you an aye?
I'll just wait to vote. I'm still gonna go no.
Okay, well, you voted, seconded the amendment.
Well,
Okay.
I withdraw my second. I'm sorry.
No, you can't withdraw it now. Okay, so it's a 4-3? Okay, so it passes 4-3.
4-3.
As is, with the waiver the addition of the update from the policy committee and review in November, at which time any extension will be considered, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So who will be implementing? Will that be you, Ms. Klutz? As far as I'm not sure as all the principals need to get the paperwork completed now? Yeah.
The schools that we're aware of that have these programs, so I have a list of the ones that have spoken or emailed. I don't know the ones that are,
Right,
that
so
have not come forth.
Yeah, perhaps send it to all principals.
I will.
And then give them a deadline to get the paperwork in line.
And Madam Chair, is this like a memo to the enrichment groups, or does it need a signature area to it in which they are?
I think they will need to discuss with the principals. The
Just to have-
principals will be informed by Ms. Klutz of here's the information that's required. I believe some of the groups have already filled out the facilities use forms, so they would just need to finish that process.
But we're still putting them in limbo, and to make a full decision, they have to wait till November, till whatever we decide.
No, well, the waiver's in place now. We just
But for
approved it.
year-long programs, they can't collect fees for the whole year. I'm just-
Yeah, I don't
don't
think
know.
many of them were anyways. They were monthly fees. So, if that's the problem, I guess it can come back and Ms. Klutz can help navigate that, so. Okay, board members, moving to 9.05, request to release budgeted contingency funds for Hickory Ridge Elementary School for mass rock removal. Mr. Louder is joining us.
Yes, ma'am. As we discussed in our work session, we have obviously hit some rock at our Southwest Elementary, or actually Hickory Ridge Elementary. I've got to get used to saying Hickory Ridge Elementary. I've known it for Southwest for the last year and a half. And we're asking the county to release some of our contingency money that was already budgeted for this type of situation. And so we have requested $600,000 to help cover the existing rock that we encounter.
And the county did, or they will approve it next week.
They took it up in the discussion, yes, ma'am, and have it on their agenda for next week.
Right. And will, I guess Kelly and Tim, you'll be at the meeting, at their meeting next week? Okay. Did we? Board, any questions?
Well, after the rock, do we, I know this question was asked. I mean, did we foresee anything else? Or I know you don't have your crystal ball here, but have we seen anything else that we think, the rock about the only thing?
And usually, you know, when we put contingency in a contract, we do it for things that we cannot see up front. And of course, usually that is in the first 6 months to a year of the job. Like we had soil conditions at the high school, we have rock at this school. But after we're out of the ground, the building structure itself, usually we have encountered very few problems with that. Beyond, because it's there, it's open, everybody sees that they bid on it, we know what we're building. And so that you don't see that much of an issue for contingency beyond that point.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Madam Chairman, we
Okay, so Dr. Kirk made the motion. Mr. Shoemaker made the second.
No, Mr. Harrison.
Oh, Mr. Harrison, I'm sorry.
That's okay. He sounds like me more.
I did want to make a note that an article in the Independent Tribune yesterday could have been somewhat misleading from the comments by two of the commissioners. I just want to clarify that any purchase of land is typically suggested by a member of the commissioner's staff, the county staff. They highly recommend where they would like Mr. Louder, Mr. Cohn, identify if that works for a school layout and the things that we need from a school construction standpoint. So we would obviously not intentionally buy properties that have rock, do some testing, but you can't test every 10 feet. That's just not financially feasible. So sometimes these situations come up as the county land continues to be consumed. So having said that, any other comments?
One question about what is, well, I'll just ask him later. I was trying to see what we were looking at price about what schools are going now, but I can check with you later, because somebody had mentioned per square foot what we were looking at prices.
It depends on the size and the school, but they're running between $225 to $250 a square foot right now.
Is that for elementary, or is that
That's just an average of school bids.
is what they're going right now? Okay.
It depends greatly on the size as well. 'Cause you have
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor to request the release of budget and contingency funds, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now call for a motion to convene a closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, and the other items as stated on the agenda.
Second.
Who was the moved? Mr. Harrison. Mr. Walter made the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 7-0. The board is now in closed session. Thank you to our audience in the house tonight and online. We appreciate you and see you next time. Thank you.